Okay guys, so on today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and try to fix my sloppy shift linkage. So let's go ahead and take a look. In a previous video, I've actually installed new bushings on the shifter, and it's not as loose, but still the range of motion that it has is still a little too much. See, look, first is here, and then fifth is way over here. So, and it is kind of sloppy. And sometimes when I drive and I put it into second and I go to take a turn, it just kind of just like slides out, and I hear grinding on my transmission, which is never a good thing. I mean, most of the time, I can't even use second, if I'm being honest. I have to kind of rev match to actually shift into second because the play in the shift linkage is too much. I guess it just doesn't go into place, or I don't know what happens, but most of the time when I go into second, I hear a really loud grinding. Okay, now there are a couple ways that I can go about doing this, and one of them is I can buy a new shift linkage, basically just aftermarket, or I can go to the junkyard and pull a shift linkage from another Civic. However, currently here in California, we're in the middle of the rainy season, and every car basically has a giant puddle of water under there, and I'm not about to go swimming just to unbolt a shift linkage. So I actually did some research online, and I found another solution, and that is replacing the actual little joint here. This is where it connects to the transmission from a shift linkage. As you can see, this part has been sawed off. I actually have another transmission here lying around right there, and it actually just came with it. So basically, this is all the stuff I'm going to be using. This here is the spot that holds onto the transmission here. You guys can see there's a little, this is where the pin goes, the ever so known as the bitch pin here. This thing here, and it is a pain in the ass to remove. I had a little bit of an issue, and I had the transmission out of the car, so it's only going to be harder to do because of the space you have to actually remove it. Essentially, in order to take this stuff out, you just have to kind of just jack the car up and expose the little boot that you have here that covers the pin, and then just remove the clamp. And once that's taken out, you can go ahead and just find something that matches the diameter of this pin, so you can kind of just push it through the slot that basically locks it into place. And I just looked through my garage here, try to find different bolts, different stuff that I thought might fit, and basically this is the stuff that I had. I used this one just because it has a little cone shape, so I could kind of like loosen it up a bit. And then I found this other bolt that was pretty much the same size as the pin here, and then I just kind of just bashed it through all the way out, and that worked pretty good. Now, all of that is just to remove the linkage, and essentially what I'm gonna have to do is I had to use a Dremel to actually cut this piece out, because as you guys can see, this pin is what was holding it together onto here, like this. And I essentially just shaved one end off and kind of just pushed it through so I can remove it, and then I can go ahead and install this piece here. Now, I'm not really sure if this is actually going to solve my issue. I do know that my shift linkage has quite a bit of play. This one didn't really have too much, but this little adapter here is, I bought it from carrottoptuning.com, and it's Precision Works shifter adapter, and I'll put the link in the description of the video so you guys can check it out. But essentially, I'm just going to install this and see if this is any good, because currently the setup I have now pretty much isn't. And if worse comes to shove and this doesn't do a good enough job, I'll just remove it and just replace it with an OEM shift linkage from the junkyard, hopefully when the rainy season comes down and I can actually get under those cars. But essentially this adapter just comes with two different types of bushings here. So this small one here is for, I think, the D series, and this one's for B series. It's pretty self-explanatory, really. You just install this piece like this, and then it comes with its own little pin here, and it just essentially just takes place. Instead of the bitch pin, you just have this one here, and it just locks into place here, and then you can just clamp it down shut with these Allen bolts here, and that's pretty much it. And it comes with a little castle cotter pin here, and there we go. That's gonna be it. Basically, once I've done all this, I'm actually just gonna go ahead and replace the transmission fluid on the little hatchback because I haven't done it in a while. And since I'm gonna be under there, I might as well just get that as well. And I'll be replacing this little boot that I bought off of Amazon as well, because I don't know what my condition is on mine, and I figured since I'm down there, might as well. All that's left to do is actually just install this into the little hatchback. And I've been standing here for quite a while because I'm just dreading getting under there.
Man, I mean, it wasn't as hard as I thought, but I had practice on that other one, so. All right.
I managed to remove it. It didn't take me that long, if I'm being honest. It was about 20 minutes. But I did have practice on the other transmission last night. So, I mean, that one took 45 minutes, I think. But it also helped that because I bought this little adapter that I'm going to install, where is it? It actually came with its own little bitch pin, I guess. And I used it to hammer out the rest of the little pin because my little screw kind of chipped and wouldn't push the entire pin out all the way. So here it is. I cleaned it up because I didn't want to handle all the gunk and stuff on my workbench here. But I am now noticing that I'm going to have another problem. So as you guys can see, the part that I'm going to be replacing obviously is where the pin goes here. And you guys can see it is quite loose. But also the shaft is kind of loose as well. I just noticed that. Off camera, I can't get the shaft to hold still while I'm moving this, but you guys can, it does have a little bit of play to it. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully replacing this one will be enough. I do want to mention that if you guys do remove it and are just looking to replace the shift linkage, to keep in mind which orientation it went, because it has a little bit of an angle. See, if you put it in this way, the shift linkage on this end where it attaches to the lever sticks up, but if you flip it, it sticks down. So just keep that in mind. And okay, so removing this pin was a lot harder than last night. Okay, this was mine. This is from the other transmission. All this stuff is basically useless. I mean, I guess this is one way to replace these bushings, I guess, but I don't know where you would get these other than with this adapter. And this one adapter cost me about 80 something bucks, I think. Whereas the entire shift linkage aftermarket was like 150, I think. So it's about half the price. The one thing I do want to mention is this piece here is actually, I guess, orientation specific, because as you guys can see, the location where this part attaches to the transmission has to be in a specific orientation. Otherwise, if you align it this way, it might not be the right way. But my adapter doesn't have that orientation. Essentially, it's pretty much one way or the other. Either way, it's gonna bolt onto the same position. So hopefully this isn't an issue when I get under there and install it. One here, right there. So the good thing about this is before it was a rivet, it was riveted on both ends, but with this one, I can actually tighten it a lot better than before. How much play do you guys think I should give this? Should I be really tight? Let's see. You know, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten it up pretty tight. It's still movable, but I'll figure it out once I get under there and start shifting. I can always just adjust it later. I got my new boot here. Let's go ahead and put this in first. Little castle pin here. The boot is a little squished. I give you that. But hopefully this makes shifting a little bit easier. Not much of a change. I mean, it still wiggles a little too much. I wonder why. The cotter pin is fastened not wobbling here at the linkage. It's wobbling here, like I mentioned before. See, look. This piece does have a little bit of play. See, this piece has a little bit of play. It's still not as tight as I would like it to be. Maybe at least this way it doesn't slide out of gear while I'm driving, but I guess probably not the best install. Didn't really do much for the stoppiness, but check this out. Oh, no second. There is no second. Damn it. Every other gear is fine. Damn. Still no second. I did this whole install just so I can use my second gear better. And now I have basically eliminated it. Man, I really thought this one was gonna be it, but check it. You guys can probably hear. First. Kind of like it stops or something. Look, I fiddled around with the little seal because I figured that that's what was stopping it from going into second. So I cut like half of it off just to give it more room to actually push the gear in. And it worked because before you couldn't get into fourth or reverse, but now everything I thought was fine, but there's still no second now. So after installing all the stuff on the Civic, I basically took it out for a test drive and found that the new bushing just didn't want to cooperate when I tried to shift into second or reverse. Fourth went in just fine, also 1, 3, and 5. So that was fine. But the issue came when I tried to shift into second and reverse. It was like you felt it kind of like stop almost, like it wouldn't complete the connection. So that's fourth, and I go second. That's fucking weird. They both have the right distance to travel, but the second isn't working. So I got it back here, jacked it up, and I found out that basically I think what happens is the bushing is just a little bit too long, and when you rotate to go into second, it kind of hits the transmission and it won't complete the connection. So essentially what I ended up doing is I just took the old one out and basically just used those bushings, and I replaced my OEM bushings, and I also used the bolt that it came with. So now it's just attached with a bolt and has new bushings, but it's still the OEM little piece, and everything is much better now. It's not a complete fix, granted. I still sometimes hear grinding into second. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. Every other gear works fine though. Honestly, it's just second, and it's just sometimes. See, that one worked. Hopefully it doesn't spit out. Sometimes when I'm driving, it just like shoots out of gear for some reason. If I step on the brake and go back to the gas, it kind of just spits out of second gear. So, but I did notice that with the new bushings, there is a lot less play in the connection. The shift linkage is a lot more sturdy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is how it's supposed to be, not like before. Oh yeah, definitely feels better. Even though it has a little bit of play, but that's from the other side of the elbow, so I can't really do anything about that unless I replace the entire shaft of the shift linkage. But it's like I said, it costs like $180, like OEM from like eBay or something. I don't know how much it costs from the pick and pull, but I'm not about to go swimming in this California rainy season just to find a shift linkage that I can replace. Also, I wasn't able to get to the oil change for the transmission because I cannot remove the bolt to drain it. And I wasn't about to strip it just to replace the oil, so I'll save that for another day. Basically, I mean, after all this time that I've just been kind of trying to force it go into second with my bad shift linkage, I've probably damaged the second gear, and the transmission will probably need to be overhauled. So look forward to that one. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty expensive. But now the little hatchback has a better shift linkage. Hopefully this lasts a little bit longer now that I've got new bushings and I don't have an issue with shifting into second gear as much. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. So take care and good speed.